All right, welcome to Sportswrap OT. I am Brian Parsons along with Jeff Snyder. And look who we have here, a very special guest. My boss of 25 years, Bruce Rader.
And now I'm working for you.
Welcome.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't know which job do I have.
Bruce, of course, a highly decorated career. And Bruce has a new role. And you are now the new
executive director of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame.
That is impressive.
Well, thanks.
Congratulations on the new job. Bruce has retired from Wavy, but now he works more than he ever has because you're an executive at Studio Center.
Well, I'm vice president of Studio Center,
a production company,
and now you're national production company,
and now the executive director of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Well, it's retirement, huh?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, but it's not. and two 20-year-old boys and two 7-year-old twins, a boy and a girl. So, but other than that, I got nothing. To do.
No. Just drinking a Mai Tai on the beach, right?
I wish I could.
So let's talk about this new role and this new position. And how did this happen? How did the wheel get rolling to you to get this position?
Well, the wheel started rolling when Will Driscoll, the longtime executive director for the last 7 years, decided that he was going to move on and become the marketing director and head of charitable events for LifeNet, which is a wonderful organization in Virginia Beach. And so there was a void at that point for an executive director, and a search team was formed. And they came to me, to be honest, and just said, hey, look, before we open this up to other applicants, the board has decided that you would be the perfect person to take the helm. And would you be able to do it? And I said, well, first I'll have to talk to Woody Prettyman, who is the CEO of Studio Center. And Woody was kind enough to say, well, I'm a big sports guy, and I would love to see the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame continue and maybe even get bigger. And so if you would be willing to take on this opportunity, he said, I'll back you. And as long as you come to work and do your regular job. So that's really how it came about. We talked back and forth, and then finally 2 weeks ago, I agreed that I would become the new executive director of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame.
How many people are on the board?
13 people on the board, and from all over the state of Virginia. And they kind of, they sort of have the oversight of the organization, but I'll be the CEO of the organization, and I will run the day-to-day affairs and, of course, be in charge of, the nominations for induction, the induction ceremony in the spring. And it'll be my responsibility to, help raise money, because it is a nonprofit, to keep the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame alive, because to me it's very important. And Brian, I think that you agree that it's very important to you, too, because you've spent your entire adult life in the sports business covering Virginia sports. You know how many incredible athletes have come through the state of Virginia. And I just think it's important that we honor them and we keep this legacy of sports alive for, our generation. Like I said, I have two 7-year-olds. And I want them, as they grow up, to know that there is a place that honors all of these great Virginia athletes.
What's the future of the Hall of Fame? What do you envision where this goes as technology changes, as the world changes? Because the days of the brick and mortar museum, that's gone. So, and not a lot of states have a brick and mortar museum for their Hall of Fame.
Right. So that was unique. Right. So we are the Virginia, the official Sports Hall of Fame for the state of Virginia. And now that we no longer have that traditional bricks and mortar museum, really our presence and our impact and our mission are even stronger than ever. And that is focusing on hosting statewide events around programs around the state of Virginia. We tell the stories of our great athletes, and we create educational and digital content that really is making a positive impact in communities throughout sports.
Are you gonna? Do you remember when Eddie Webb was the executive director of the Hall of Fame? He had a thing. Remember we ran it in the Sportswrap. It was the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame moment. I think we did that for a little bit, and it was just kind of like a little 20-second thing, like this Virginia sport, Mark West of our Old Dominion. You know what I'm talking about,
right? I would love to do podcasts with all of our I mean, even since I've left television. It's just that, things have changed so much. And, we're able to be in a situation here today where we can have a 30-minute conversation about something that is very important to local sports and state sports, unlike being able to do 2.5 minutes on TV or 15 minutes on TV.
Right.
So when I was here, but you now and Craig, you guys have had to adapt to the nuances of how to broadcast sports. And that's what the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame has to do on a regular basis. I mean, we're more than just a plaque on a wall, really. Our inductees are living legends, and then some of them are long gone. We don't want to forget those that have come and gone, but we want to connect to the community and tell the stories of these athletes for future generations. In short, I think, Brian, what we're storytellers, we're connectors, and we're community advocates for the history of sports in the state of Virginia.
How about this past weekend? The National Baseball Hall of Fame had their ceremony. And how about Division III Ferrum College Billy Wagner, Virginia Sports Hall of Famer in the National Baseball Hall of Fame? That's pretty incredible. That's kind of just one of those things, one of those great stories that the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame can tell. A guy that, Division III, Ferrum College, Bruce.
I know.
And you wouldn't think you'd be in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, let alone the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Those are the stories that I think that are great that the Hall of Fame can tell.
I mean, if you think about it, too, as far as National Hall of Fames, which is, that's what everyone gravitates to, but around the nation, I don't know. I mean, there are states like Texas and Florida that are so much larger than the state of Virginia and have had great athletes. But we have 13 Virginia Sports Hall of Famers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We have 3 in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Now the Billy has been inducted. And we have 13 Hall of Famers in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame.
All right, the football. So Ace Parker would be one. Bruce Smith.
Right.
Kenny Easley. Is Dwight Stevenson in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Definitely. Yes, both.
That's 4 off the top of my head.
4 of the 13.
4, yeah. I don't think I'm going to get. Well, we're talking the whole state, so
Ace Parker.
Ace, of course, is the great Ace Parker.
The great Ace Parker.
Ace Parker. Jeff played Major League Baseball and NFL, and hit a home run in his first at bat in Major League Baseball. And he was a 3-sport star at Duke and from Portsmouth.
Was he also an actor, or am I thinking somebody else?
Ace?
No, he
was a character, but I don't think he was an actor.
They were silent movies back then.
I see.
So I think, okay, I'm gonna throw out a couple of guys here. Okay, Grant Hill is not in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. He went to high school in Reston. Why is he not in the Sports Hall of Fame?
There are athletes who no longer live in the state of Virginia that have been nominated to be in the Hall of Fame, have been selected to be in the Hall of Fame, but just because of the fact that they really don't have that much of a connection to the state anymore, they have kind of said, hey, I appreciate it, but I just am not going to be able to be there for the induction ceremony. And we don't want to induct a list of people every year that were inducted in the Hall of Fame but aren't here. I mean, our induction ceremony is the best way, and you've been to probably 25 of them. It's a great way for the community to be able to meet and be around all of these great athletes. And, Grant's a very busy man, and there may be a day when Grant will be able to fit it into his schedule to be here. But so that's That's like one of the reasons. Allen Iverson.
That's the next one.
Yeah.
I've been,
And he's way more accessible than he was 20 years ago.
right. But even the last couple of years, I've been, talking to his mom, and a lot of it has to do with that particular date.
Right.
If they weren't able to be here, and Grant may have been doing
NBA
basketball, NCAA basketball on television and things like that. But but I'll tell you what, most everyone that is nominated and selected is there. I mean, Bruce Smith, Michael Kadire, David Wright, Lou Whitaker, Bruce Smith, Chris Long.
I'll tell you who was really
Sean Merritt.
A couple of years ago, the one that stole the show for me, I thought Jimmy Laycock was hilarious.
He was fabulous.
His speech was so great. William & Mary football coach, 39 years. He was awesome, man. And that was a good class. That was a good one.
We have our NASCAR guys, Ricky Rudd, Jeff Burton, of course. Talk about coaches, talk about Coach Laycock. You have to talk about Frank Beamer.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's certainly in it. The late Sweet Pea Whitaker. And as I said, Bruce Smith. Ryan Zimmerman, D'Angelo Hall.
William Fuller's in, right? Obviously.
William Fuller's been in for a long
100
time.
Sacks. But when we had him on the Washington Huddle, William Fuller, and on the Super is like with the name and William Fuller, and it said 100 career sacks, and William said. Actually, it was 100 and a half. I was like, okay, sorry, William. Yeah, I'll fix it. It's like, he wants credit for that half a sack, I think William has a case at some point, maybe like that Veterans Committee, like when Kenny Easley got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Right.
I think there could be a case for William. 100 sacks, and that's not counting his USFL days. William Fuller was a player.
Well, and then
second an all-pro one year as well.
Right. And the thing is, we're sitting here talking about, William Fuller, who is in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, and what he did. Well, who's the all-time sack leader in the NFL?
I know.
Bruce Smith.
I know.
Not only were they both from the same state, they were both from the same area.
And crazy.
Along with Alonzo Mourning.
And
along with Kenny Easley. Come on. The Hampton Roads Sports Hall of Fame would be better than some states' Hall of
Fame. Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah. Lawrence is in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such a cool thing. And some of the guys, I just remember like interviewing some of the guys on like the day before when they had like the dinner at the building, the Friday before. Yeah. And just guys like Ben Wallace and Charles Oakley and all these guys that you wouldn't think you'd ever have a chance to kind of talk to, and when they come back, it's pretty cool to see some of these guys. And
Ann Donovan, Nancy Lieberman, Francia McCrory. So all the women that and you if you think about it, college sports as far as women being involved in it really didn't catch on until the late 1970s and early 1980s. When, you started getting into the Chrissy Everett and the Martina Navratilova in tennis and college basketball. Before women's college basketball, actually, they were the AIAW with Old Dominion when they won national championships, when Nancy Lieberman didn't even play in the NCAA. And these are some of the greatest female athletes of all time. Latasha Colander.
Oh, yeah.
An Olympian.
Yeah.
Lawrence Johnson, a high jumper from Great Bridge High School in Chesapeake, who was a great Olympian and world record holder. And he was from Chesapeake. It's just crazy, the great sports history. And the thing with me is, Brian, I don't want it to go away. And it was a call. They came to me and said, Bruce, we need your help. And we want to keep, not only do we want to keep the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame relevant, but we also want it to grow. And they said, would you be, because, so, if you look at it back in the late, I was jotting down a few notes. I was not around in 1966 when the late Herb Simpson approached the Portsmouth Sports Club with the idea of doing a Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, because I was only 12 years old at the time, which tells you how old I am. But back in the late 1970s, when I was the sports director at Wavy TV 10, Mr. Simpson introduced me to the Hall of Fame when they opened their first building in 1977, right down the street from these studios.
420 High Street.
That's right. And then I had the honor of inducting athletes for decades during their induction ceremonies, which were always in Portsmouth. And I emceed the grand opening of the Portsmouth Museum 20 years ago.
It's 20 years ago.
It was 20 years ago. And now that it is headquartered in Virginia Beach, and now I'm back in, because I just have always felt this is important.
Yeah. So as executive director, how important do you think it is each year? Okay, the people that are going to get recognized, not everybody's going to be a household name. How important is it to have like a marquee name each class? Like kind of the guy that's going to be the front and center of the billboard to kind of headline the class. How important is that? A strategic thing, do you think, that's moving forward?
No, it's really not. I mean, it is a very detailed discipline. So we will get hundreds of nominations. Anyone can nominate someone for the Hall of Fame. You can go on the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame webpage, and if you can't maneuver that, send me an email, and we'll make sure that you get a nomination, an opportunity to nominate someone. So hundreds of former athletes are nominated every year. There is a very small committee. Mr. Craig Littlepage, the former athletic director at the University of Virginia. You mentioned William Fuller, Marty Miller, who is the president of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, the longtime athletic director at Norfolk State, and myself for years. We will take those 100 of them, and then we will break that down to an easier number, so that the main nomination committee will meet in Richmond, and then they will go through each one, every nomination, and then that is how the nominees are picked to be inducted. And so I understand what you're saying is, well, obviously you want to have that big star.
You want to sell the tables.
So you want to sell the tables. But the thing is, Brian, it's never been a problem. There's never been a induction ceremony, and I've been involved in them for, I stopped being involved.
I've never seen any empty seats at these things.
Well, it's not just that. You've never also seen anyone being inducted that you didn't go, oh my God, he's famous.
Right.
Or she's famous. And oftentimes it's like, boy, all 4 of them are famous, because there's so many. I mean, there are so many big names that have not even been inducted yet that I would hope will be inducted as the years go on. But the thing is, something in the water, because of the fact that while we have all these great athletes that haven't even been inducted yet, year after year after year, because you're covering them every single day, more and more great athletes from the state of Virginia come along.
Well, there is one guy that I feel needs to be in.
Okay.
Ronald Curry needs to be in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame.
I think you're right.
The greatest I think we agree. You say Kenny Easley a lot. I didn't really get to see Kenny Easley in high school, but Curry was the best high school football player I've ever seen.
Yes, he was. And here's an example. Just this past year, former Hampton High School coach Mike Smith was inducted. He is the winningest high school football coach in the history of America in all states. That's how hard it is to get in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. It took all these years for Mike Smith to even get in.
Hey, Bruce, they let you in before him.
They let me in before him. That shows you the flaws in the nominating apparatus.
So the Hall of Fame, a new venture. We could talk about some other things too. I mean, do you miss not going to Commanders training camp? Do you miss those sweltering summer days in Ashburn?
No, but as I was coming in here to the station, I was listening to Dan Quinn's daily press conference. Bringing back those old days. It's a different time. I mean, you know this because you're still dealing with them on a regular basis. We had so much more access in the past, and now everything is just, they don't need the media anymore because of, online and all these online coverages. Like even the reporters from the Washington Post that have been covering the Commanders for years, they're leaving the Washington Post because they're now going to report on the Commanders through different web pages,
right,
and things like that. And I remember going to Carlisle, Pennsylvania back in the old days when, after practice was over, we'd all go to the Gingerbread Man, which was the only local bar in that small college town. And all the guys were in there. You'd sit at the bar and you'd talk to the players, and then you'd get stories and things like that. And those days are over.
Yeah.
They don't do training camp away from home anymore. They do it there. A lot of it is financial.
I'll show clips to Snyder, and it'll be a Redskins game that we shot, and we're interviewing the quarterback on the field after the game.
Immediately after the game.
Those days are long gone.
Yeah, one of my favorite.
They'll send the police dogs on you if they try to do that now.
One of my favorite pictures, and I just posted it on our Facebook page or my Facebook page, was someone had taken a picture off of a TV set when Bruce Smith set the all-time sack record. It was on Monday Night Football against the Giants, and he had set the record. And he and I were walking off the field together. He had his arm around me, and I was actually doing the interview with him. And that was the last shot of that Monday Night Football game.
Yeah.
And it's a great picture.
Yeah.
And neither Bruce or I really thought about it. And, it's something that I'll always have to remember. That would never happen today.
No, they the access, they control everything. They protect these guys. If you're going to get Jaden Daniels, you're going to get Jaden Daniels the one day they bring him out, and that's it. You better bring your questions because you're not getting them again.
But this all goes back, as time goes on, because back in those days they needed us.
Yeah,
back in those days there were 3 television stations in D.C., 3 television stations in Richmond, 3 television stations in Hampton Roads,
a couple newspapers,
a few newspapers.
Yeah,
and now those days are over.
Yeah. It's we're still up there though. We're still getting the content. It's just again, the access. Oh my God! When we went to the NASCAR races, that was Daytona. We would just walk around and hey, there's Jeff Gordon. Hey, Jeff,
Exactly.
They throw a mic in front of their face and you start talking. I mean, those days are gone.
Yeah,
even the access is not the same.
The way sports is covered now is just so different.
I mean, even with the Tides. I mean, it's like when a player from the Orioles comes down on a rehab assignment, say like Ryan Mountcastle or something like that. It's like, no, you can't talk to him.
Right.
You're not talking to him. It's like, why? We just no. You can't get.
But
him.
when he first got called up to AAA, guess what he was doing? He was sitting down there doing live shots with us on opening day.
Right. But then when he gets called up and down on a rehab, then he's hands off. I don't know if they think we're going to ask these hard hitting questions. When no, we're not. We're not.
That's so interesting because when I was an intern 10, 12 years ago in Erie, PA, when people were on rehab assignments for the Seawolves, they still let us interview them. So I
think it might be an Orioles. It might be an Orioles policy.
Okay,
it may be. But the other thing too is they don't need us anymore.
No.
That there was a time when they needed us. We were the venue and we were the vehicle that got their stories out and helped generate fan interest. Now there's so many other ways to get this information. They don't care about us.
Literally anyone can form a podcast. I mean, look at us. But literally anyone can have a podcast now and they can just control their story, They don't have to tell it to us anymore. And that's just it's different now. It's just different. We just have to gather information in a different way.
Well, you guys have evolved.
Oh yeah,
because you've gone from just doing the 6, back in the day when I started 6 and 11 o'clock news, then the 6 and 11 o'clock news, and then the sports wrap, and then you guys do a great segment on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday morning shows where you recap, the either Friday nights or Saturday nights and things like that. So you all, and then you have this podcast here. So you all are adapting, using and it just changes so much.
Yeah,
everything changes. I mean, with AI, who's to say that you can't just make up interviews?
I mean, people already have. So
I remember you were always kind of a baseball fan, but not like a hardcore baseball fan. And then the Nats came, and then you became a hardcore you became a Nats fanatic.
Yes, I was.
Are you still a Nationals fanatic?
So I was a Nationals fanatic, and one of my sons
he had every game. Every game. You'd watch every game.
Watched every game. And so the problem that I had with the Nationals was that the Hampton Roads area was blacked out from Massa.
Yeah.
Because of that deal they had with the Orioles. And so because of that, we couldn't get the games here. And so finally, after the World Series and then after things went downhill, I sort of lost interest. And then the last 2 years, things were just so bad, I just didn't even bother.
They need an ownership change.
And well, they do. And so what happened was that I had taken my kids, my 2 older boys, I had taken them to opening day every single year because my father had taken me to opening game with the Washington Senators when I was growing up. It's family tradition. So that stopped with me taking the boys. And then finally this year, I called up my son who's going into his junior year of college, and I said, I have made a life-changing decision. And he's like, what, Dad? I go, I'm going to try to be a Nationals fan again. And I said, and to prove it, I have bought 2 tickets to opening day, and we're going to go to opening day. So he left. He was at JMU. He left JMU. I left here, drove up there, went to opening day. It was phenomenal. They lost, of course, in like the 8th inning. And then Masson started, I'd say, a quarter into the season
the app.
You can now pay for the app.
Yeah.
So I bought it, watched every game until about a month and a half ago, and I'm done.
Yeah, hard times.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Did they do anything at the trade deadline? I don't even know.
Yeah, they made some trades.
They traded Finnegan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go. Okay.
They traded Finnegan, but what they end up, he's a reliever, and then they ended up getting a couple of A-League pitchers. But you're right.
That's like with the Orioles. The Orioles made these trades, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe we got some prospects, and you realize, oh, it's some single-A pitcher for the Mets reliever with a 7 ERA.
Yeah.
Like well, that's the prospect.
And the other thing is that they're building for the future. Well, they've been building for the future. The Soto trade was very helpful. They got some really good players from the Soto trade.
Yes, it did.
But the thing is that they're still in last place. And I'm telling you, I got other things to do than to sit there and spend 2.5 hours watching a team that, in my opinion, why should I spend money to go to the games? Why should I spend my time watching those games when the owners are not willing to do what it takes to at least try to make them a contender?
Time is valuable.
Well, because the games are only 2.5 hours.
Time is money. Time is valuable.
Absolutely,
that's true.
It's the Orioles. What a disappointing season it's been for them. What they've basically thrown in the towel, and they've traded Ramon Urias and Cedric Mullins, a very popular player, Mr. Oriole, terrible going to the Mets.
Going to the Mets.
Ryan O'Hearn got traded. Laureano got traded. Did Charlie Morton get traded?
Charlie Morton did get traded to
Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the Nationals were smart, they would just buy the bananas,
oh boy,
the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, Brian's favorite team.
And put them out there. But here's the thing: the guy that founded the Savannah Bananas just sold them.
No, he didn't.
$1 billion.
When? When?
He sold it, I think, to Barstool Sports.
What?
Or something like that.
I haven't heard of that.
All right.
Anyway,
do some research.
So, Madison Pierman, our reporter here, that she used to work the assignment desk.
The weekend anchor. That's what she is, Brian.
Is she?
She's big time. No, weekend morning. Weekend morning anchor.
Okay, so we're talking about something, and I'm going off about something, and she just looked at me and said, "You're turning into Bruce." I was like, oh my gosh, am I really? Is it happening? Is that crossroads in my life happening where I'm turning into Bruce?
Well, what happens is that you become cynical. I mean, the thing is that I know I was, and then we've been together for what?
25 years.
25 years. We really lived through the glory years of television sportscasting.
Yes.
We lived through the glory years.
Yeah.
I don't know how often that Craig Loper covers the World Series, or how often Craig Loper goes to Super Bowls or Final Fours and things like that. It was just understood.
Didn't you do the Indy 500 one year?
I did the Indy 500 2 years.
Wow.
And there was a point where someone in the press room had told me at the time, towards the end, that there had been no local sportscaster in all of America that had covered as many Daytona 500s consecutively than I had.
Wow. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, if you think about it.
I mean,
I was definitely the first sportscaster in the state of Virginia to cover the Daytona 500, and then went every single year.
Why?
Well, so here's the story behind that. And I know we can't go on forever.
Yes,
but if you remember, the Daytona International Speedway is butted right up against the Daytona Airport.
Yes.
Like their parking lots touch. Well,
I wouldn't know, because whenever I went to Daytona, I had to drive, and His Majesty flew.
Well, that's because I was old. And plus, you didn't want to be in the car with me for that long.
That's probably true.
But what happened was, it was back in the late 80s, and videotape, as we know it, had not been invented.
Early 80s.
Mm-hmm. The early 80s.
Yeah, early 80s.
So everything was shot with film. Okay. So I had this idea. I would go to Daytona, and I would get, and back in those days, if you got up early in the morning and went to the garage, Richard Petty, Davey Allison, all those guys actually worked on their cars. They were right there with the crew working on their cars. I would go around with my film camera, because videotape had not been invented yet. I went around with my film camera at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I would interview Richard Petty. And then I would do my story. And then I had to get in a golf cart and go to the airport, which was right next door. If it hadn't been next door, it never would have happened. Put it on Delta Dash. They flew the film back to Norfolk. There was someone waiting in the airport from Wavy. They took the film. They brought it back. They processed it through the film processor. They edited it, and it was on the 6 o'clock news. Bruce Rader in Daytona today. Here's his report. Never been done before.
Was the film canister in a seat on the plane with a seatbelt?
Yeah, you put it in the back. You put it in the back.
Try to wrap your head around.
I mean,
developing the film,
and not even that. Just as a viewer, seeing that at that time period, like that was just never done.
Yeah, people are like, Bruce Rader is actually in Daytona today.
Yeah, holy cow, he's talking to Richard Petty.
And then when they invented videotape, then it was so much easier, because then you could just take the videotape to the airport, fly it back, and
you don't have to process it.
And you didn't have to process
already
it.
Done.
But if the plane was delayed, you didn't get a story that day.
So you were rolling the dice still.
Right. And then satellite trucks were invented, and I think you were involved with that then.
Heck yeah.
And then we were the first television station in the state of Virginia, one of the first on the East Coast that actually did live coverage of the Daytona 500. And we were always there 7 days. We started the Monday before the race, and we left the Monday after the race.
Oh, I remember.
Did all of Speed Weeks, huh?
Vaguely, but I remember it was. Those were wild times. It was so much fun, and just the access that we had with all the NASCAR stars, and some of the coolest parts were, the celebrity watch. The Daytona 500 that day before the race, everybody was there. Think of some of the cool people that we saw. I mean,
movie stars. Hey, that's the first time I met Donald Trump.
Yep, I remember we interviewed.
He was just like
2000. We interviewed Donald Trump.
Yeah, he was just like a millionaire. And I went out to shake his hand. He wouldn't shake my hand. And then after it was over, I said to his aide, I was like, or whoever's PR guy was, I go, dude didn't even shake my hand. He goes, he doesn't shake hands. He's germophobic. And he doesn't shake hands with anyone. So either that's true, or they just said that to make me feel better. But I will say this, ever since then, I've always been watching Trump to see if he shakes anybody's hand. I never have.
I was going through some old tapes a few years ago and some Daytona tapes, and the musical acts that they would have on before the race, I had completely forgotten, and I'd shot it, and I was there.
Yeah.
Brian Wilson.
We
saw Brian Wilson.
And
he waswasn't good.
Brooks and Dunn.
It wasn't good at all.
He was starting to lose it.
Yeah. Brooks and Dunn, Bon Jovi.
Trisha Yearwood.
Trisha Yearwood.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Trisha Yearwood. She was like one of the coolest ones. And it was in a Crown Royal room. And we were interviewing like
I remember that.
Nicolas Cage and Brooks and Dunn and these people. And Trisha Yearwood's there. And I looked at her. She was going to sing the national anthem. I said, are you nervous about singing the national anthem? She goes, well, there's like 300,000 people there. Yeah. I'm probably going to need a shot of this Crown Royal before I go out there and do this. And then when she did go out and do it, she kind of looked at the crowd and she just kind of did a, so,
Right.
I mean, you don't want to blow that,
Yeah,
No.
the 500, that was much bigger. I mean, it's still huge. Don't get me wrong. They sell it out every year, but they've ripped so many seats out of that place.
The backstretch.
The backstretch, anyway. So it's not as many people anymore, but it's still a huge event.
Mariah Carey did the national anthem. I remember she had a trailer and she wouldn't leave that thing except for that, back in the trailer and gone. So here, this begs the question. Okay. We saw Mariah Carey sing the national anthem at the Daytona 500.
Yes.
Could we, like stats wise, could we say we saw Mariah Carey live?
Oh, absolutely.
Does that count?
I count that.
Does that count?
Oh, I count that. Absolutely.
National anthem counts.
National anthem counts.
Yeah.
You
Just because we didn't see your concert?
You watched her perform a song.
Yeah,
you
true.
heard her perform a song live. That counts.
I think it's Fergie may have done a national anthem, I think.
It wasn't Carlson. I had pictures of that in the pre-race show. It wasn't Kelly Clarkson.
Oh, Kelly Clarkson, yeah.
Was that who it was?
100%.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
did a couple songs.
Because
she was good.
Actually, I walked up. I just happened to be there, and I walked like right up in front of the stage. And I have some pictures that I took.
Nice.
And we were right up in front of the stage. So that's who that was. Kelly Clarkson, yeah.
Yeah, Daytona, that was good times. NASCAR, still plugging along. They're trying to do different things. They've, the street race was in Chicago, and now they're moving it to San Diego.
Yeah, going to be at Coronado, Naval Base.
Very interesting things that they've been trying to do. And I think the days of taking up a bunch of real estate and building a NASCAR track for 2 races a year,
Right.
Those days are gone.
Well, you look at California Speedway; they're tearing it down.
They're not doing that anymore.
No.
They're not. Instead of building a track in San Diego, we'll just do a street race in San Diego.
Yeah.
Well, and also, too, thanks to Netflix, Formula One racing has become so big in America that, a lot of people that were racing fans, like I was, and my son was, now we've sort of gravitated a lot towards Formula One.
Next Monday, I believe it's next Monday. I have to get double check on that, but Chesapeake Sports Club is having their luncheon.
It's Monday. Ricky Rudd.
How about, are you going to go?
Of course I'm going to go.
Yeah, because I know you and Ricky were so close for so many years. You covered him. I mean,
I did my first interview with Ricky Rudd when he and his wife Linda lived in Indian River in Chesapeake. And I had heard about this young kid who was going to go to the Daytona 500. And I called him up and I went to their house and I did an interview in their living room. And what his story was, his father owned a junkyard. And so they had built him a car. They were going to trailer it down to Daytona, and he was going to qualify. He was going to try to qualify for the Daytona 500. And that was the first interview I ever did with Ricky. And that was before he actually raced in his first Daytona 500.
So this is the story on like this kid trying to live out the
This
dream.
kid from Chesapeake.
You know, the working on his own
This
car.
is when NASCAR was huge in this area.
Right, that is crazy.
Yeah, that would have
man.
been what, the late 70s?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Ricky really
mid-70s.
what a great career he had. All those years with consecutive years with a win. He won a Brickyard 400. He was continued for
He
championships.
owned his own team for a long time.
Yep.
He owned his own team when they won the Brickyard.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was a single car owner.
Well, one thing that sticks out from that era for me was like 97, 90. I'm like 6 years old. I'm like a new racing fan. And I remember they had a race at Martinsville and it was so hot. And Ricky, his like helmet air conditioner wasn't working. And he wins the race. He does the interview in Victory Lane sitting on the ground.
Oh, yeah, that's what he said.
With like ice all over.
He's like, I got blisters.
I remember that.
Blisters on my butt. That's what he
Yeah.
kept saying. The Iron Man, and he was a tough guy. And
Never missed a race.
tell you his battles he had with Dale Earnhardt, they kind of went sideways. You know, their friendship throughout their career, they had some run-ins. Man, they were not buddies. There was some deal where I believe Rudd was with Childress, and then he got booted, and Earnhardt took the spot or something. I don't know. Something like that.
So
Call me crazy, but there are a lot of people that weren't really close with Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, you're right. You were so right.
But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
He
ahead.
was the intimidator.
So what happened was Richard. So Dale was with Osterland. The Osterland team got bought, shut down. I think he went to Richard for like a year, left. Ricky got that seat, and then Earnhardt was in the 15 car with Bud Moore, and then they ended up doing like a seat swap.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
It was very interesting. But that's how Earnhardt ended up with Childress and won 6 titles with him.
And
So
and people, when I speak, I try to do as many speaking engagements as I'm asked to do, and people will inevitably say when it's question and answer time, what were your most memorable sporting events? And I generally say probably the most. I was there when Cal Ripken.
That's always your that's your go-to
number
one.
Yeah, broke the Ironman record. And then I say, and unfortunately, I was also at Daytona the day Dale Earnhardt died. And Brian, you and I were both there together.
We were there. It was we had to stay a couple of extra days. That was the biggest story I've ever been a part of. I mean, hands down. And I always remember, like the next day, we just kind of be sitting there working on something. And I remember one time Bruce just looked up at me and just looks at me and goes, Dale Earnhardt's dead. It's like the day after,
Yeah.
just let that soak in, man.
Because
we're still absorbing it.
It happened so quickly, and all we did, and it happened at the end of the race, and we really didn't know about it that for sure until maybe 7:00 that night. And then, of course, we had an entire story written about the Daytona 500 that went in the trash.
Yes.
And then all we did, and then we stayed up because there weren't that many reporters left, especially television reporters. And I remember staying.
And we had the satellite truck.
We had satellite trucks. So I remember staying up all night doing live shots with NBC stations around the country. And then
Different time zones.
all I wanted to do because we had been there since like 6:00 in the morning. All I wanted to do was go to bed because I had a flight the next day to come home.
No, you didn't.
And then they said, hey, can you just hang out and do something for the Today Show? And so I went and got in the car. And I closed the door and I slept for like an hour. And then you came and woke me up and said, okay, come on, we got to do that. And then we had to stay for the press conference the Monday after. And it was, I guess we were up for almost 30 hours.
Yeah. And, at that point, the adrenaline kind of kicks in, though, because you have to step up to the moment for something like this.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. It was, you were working on a story inside the satellite truck, and I was outside walking around, and I heard these fans heard one fan say, I heard Earnhardt was seriously injured. And then I heard another fan go, I heard he was DOA. And I'm like, what? And I went into the truck. I was like, hey, man, some fan out there said they heard Earnhardt was DOA. And you're like, well, we probably need to kind of like keep our ears perked up,
I think exactly what happened was that I was just fit. Who did
Michael Waltrip.
Michael Waltrip.
All right, Michael Waltrip.
First career win.
Won.
In like 500 races.
And then here's the thing. We were in Victory Lane. And this is what I remember. And, of course, if you win the Daytona 500, you are freaking out.
Yes.
And you're pouring beer and champagne over all your teammates. All of a sudden, I looked over. We're right there in Victory Lane. I looked over, and Michael Wallace was sitting on a ledge, and someone was talking to him.
I think it was Rader.
And they were having a very serious conversation. And I thought to myself, dude, this guy just won the Daytona 500 for the first time. Why isn't he more excited? And then I remember I'm doing the story. I'm in the satellite truck doing the story about Michael Waltrip winning his first Daytona 500. And you came in and you said, hey, there's people out there talking, and they're saying that Dale Earnhardt might be dead. And I went, well, you know what, Brian? Why don't you go back out there, and if Dale Earnhardt does die, you come back and tell me. And I remember 5 minutes later, you opened the door and said, oh, by the way, Dale Earnhardt's dead. And I was like, oh, my God.
And that's when, like, the word just kind of filtered, like, get to the Benny Conn press room at 7 o'clock.
Right. Which is not much bigger than this.
No, it's really, and then everybody's converging there, and
you see the video of it.
They let us in.
That's a big formative years moment of my life too, watching it on TV, seeing you all just huddled over each other while Mike Helton's making the announcement that Earnhardt died.
I also remember that after the Daytona, after every day at Daytona and after every NASCAR race around the country, the media was allowed to go into the garage area to do interviews.
Oh yeah, and that one they closed.
They locked. Yeah. They locked the garage, and at that point, I was like, that was when we were, still trying to figure out what was going on, and I said I never have seen them ever lock the garage area, and then I looked over, and there were these two massive pit guys, because the pit guys changing the tires, they were always huge.
Yeah.
And they were both sitting on the ground crying. Two huge guys crying.
Were they on Earnhardt's team, or was it different guys?
No. It was everyone. Yeah. I remember walking by Rusty Wallace. And Rusty, he was like the nicest guy, most easy guy to talk
to.
Approachable. And I remember walking past him, and I went, hey, Rusty. And he didn't even look at me. He just had this blank expression on his face, and he just kept walking.
Yeah, he was friends with Earnhardt.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, that was a wild, historic day. And it, there was a lot of deaths and auto racing around that period of time.
That's where the Hans device was invented.
Blaze Alexander, Kenny Irwin, Adam Petty, Dale Earnhardt.
It was Blaze Alexander's crash that mandated the Hans device, because he died a few months after Earnhardt in a wreck at Charlotte.
And that's when,
they were like, we have to do it.
And soft walls, too. Yeah. The soft walls. I mean, you think, how in the world did they not have that before?
Exactly. And you can't even fathom it now. And earlier this week at Indy, a guy from one of Richard Childress Racing's Xfinity drivers got suspended because he right hooked the guy into the wall at Indy, the part of the wall that wasn't protected by the soft wall. So that was very scary.
So any silver lining in Earnhardt's death was the fact that the safety measures that took place after that have saved lives.
And I think that if you look at all of the violent sports, I mean, the same things happen in football.
Yeah.
The Guardian cap
and the rules. I mean, I was listening to Dan Quinn, the Commanders' head coach today, talking about how they have very strict league-imposed rules. Of course, the players' union had a lot to do with it, but you are only allowed to practice like 3 hours a day in pads, 2 days a week, and they have to have 1 day off. Shoot, man, when I was covering them back when Jack Pardee and Joe Gibbs were the coach and Joe Theismann was the quarterback, and those guys were going out at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they weren't getting off that field until 6:30 at night, and those coaches didn't care. And there were guys passing out in the field, and they were hey, trainer, go pull that guy into the locker room, and you know what? If he can't cut it, he can't be on the team.
You're not going to believe this, but we're out of time.
Oh. Yeah,
we did it. We ran through that. We could have done 2 hours with the Dean.
Well, it's
Bruce
just
Rader.
like when I produced a special about his career when he retired. I could have used an hour for it. It was only 22 minutes. Like, it could have been forever.
So the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame member Bruce Rader is now the executive director of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame and a career pivot. So Bruce, my friend, thank you so much for joining us on Sportswrap OT, and we'll stay in touch.
All right, thanks for everybody, and thanks everybody for watching.